Episode number 2. I was in Ireland, just got back, and I went over for a couple of reasons. One was I did an Olympic lifting coaching course with the Irish Lifting Association, I think it was, which was great. 2 days, Waterford. My mother got a hip done, and she didn't like the convalescent home, so I ended up driving up and down from to Waterford every day to make sure she was okay because she lives in a 2 up, 2 down. And I trained with Kieran Davern. For me, he's one of the best jiu-jitsu guys out there, but not jiu-jitsu, just grappling for MMA. So I did the 2 classes with him on I think it was the Monday, was it? Yeah. But the lifting course was interesting, and I've decided to learn new things. One, well, obviously jiu-jitsu, learn some new stuff because I'm teaching the same shit I did like a long time ago. Haven't been learning too many new things. So, and the lifting, some nice people I met. They partnered us up, and there was a guy there. I thought he was Thai. He was Malaysian, and we were partnered up with somebody else first, and then they said like change partner. So I looked around. He was the only guy still standing there. So, and I was probably the least qualified in the room. There was about 14 people there. Most of them were lifters, or yeah, most of them were lifters. Most of them had all lifted. And I flew around with it, but I really don't have much of it. I have an idea, but very little. I'd say I'm white belt. These were probably purple belts, brown belts, black belts. Anyway, the people that are running the course had you coaching your partner, and then they coached you, and they're kind of looking how you're giving instruction to people and part of the course. So I started coaching this chap, and you know, sometimes you're better off keeping your mouth shut because I was, I think I was speaking for the sake of speaking. Step in, feet hip distance apart, toes pointed out slightly. Talking them through everything. Doing that wrong, you're pushing it. You're not blasting it. Just all this type of shit. And then he started to correct me. He was coaching me, and I kind of knew when he started coaching me that he knew a lot more than me. Just his little mannerisms and the way he was saying anyway, he explained it. Anyway, we went for lunch, and I was walking down the corridor with him. So I said, how long are you training? How long are you lifting, by the way? And he's like, 27 years. I was like, okay. Have you ever competed? And he's like, yeah, I've been in the Olympics twice. I was like, for fuck's sake, could you not said something? So yeah, I mean, there was another time. I remember when I quit the bike, I didn't know what to do with myself, and I'd kind of built up this goal from the age of 15 to ride the Tour de France, and then when I got to like 23, 24, I realised it just wasn't good enough. And when I stopped, I was just lost. I didn't know what to do because I was just a cyclist, and all I did was just ride a bike and daydream about it. And the next day, the next race is going to be better. The next race is going to be better. And finally, I was in a race and I just stopped pedaling, and all the guys go ahead, and I slowed down until the bike came to a stop and got in the van and never sat in a bike again for 10 years. And I just didn't know what to do with myself. So I decided, there was a guy that used to race with us, and he'd gone to Japan Airlines and was an air steward. And it was good money at the time. So I decided that's what I was going to do. I was going to go to, there was an interview in London, Japan Airlines, work in Japan. You're flying to Australia, transatlantic. You're going in there in Japanese. You're going to see the world. So I thought, fucking, this sounds like a good gig for me. Good under pressure. And the interview was in Heathrow Airport in some offices, and I went along, and I was late because I couldn't find the place. And when we got in, they said they'd see me last because I'd missed my slot. And the room was full of all these beautiful people. Do you ever go into a room where you feel like you're in the wrong room? And the women were stunning. They all looked like models. The guys were just these handsome, tall bastards, and then there was just me, and I was looking for it. Everyone seemed to know each other as well. Everyone was chatting to each other, and I always felt a little bit not like chatting to anybody. So I found a little corner where the coffee machine was, and I started drinking coffee. And the thing about me and coffee is I'm going to have a great time, but not everybody else is. So I get a little bit sarcastic sometimes. And the interview process was different, where it was, they took groups of 15, 20 people down to a boardroom, and the examiners would stand around while we discussed what would go into a time capsule that would be dug up in 100 years. So I kind of asked myself, so what are they looking for here? Are they looking for someone to take control of the situation, talk, discuss, argue, not say anything? So I figured, an air steward, okay, you got to be welcoming, you got to be presentable, you got to be good at service, but when shit goes wrong, you got to be able to not panic, deal under pressure, organise everybody. So I just thought best to join in the conversation, and with the 15 cups of coffee, I started arguing with people. Hence to say, I never got the job. The girl that got it out of that one lived at home with her mammy, and she had a dog, and she'd never been anywhere. But she was like, they kind of liked that. They wanted the female to be like submissive, Japanese acting, European looking, and the guys to be like super gay, so they weren't banging the air hostesses. That was for the captain. that was the reality of it. Yeah. So that was the first time I realised sometimes it's better off to keep your mouth shut. Got me again. Can't help it sometimes. I was going to talk about a little analogy I have on life, and I think I came up with it myself, because sometimes you rob them off people, you get bits and pieces off people, but I think I came up with this one myself. And the analogy was that I'm a bus driver, and I'm driving the bus, and people get on and off the bus, and some people get on for a stop, some people get on for 2 stops, some people get on for most of the journey. But at the end of the day, I parked the bus in a depot on my own. And I was thinking about it, because it was kind of like, it's a short, podcast if that was it. So I thought about it yesterday, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm the bus driver, but maybe I have a route, and I have my regulars that get on and off, and I have people that I see every now and then I still have the odd transient kind of tourist that pops on once, meets me once, and is gone. And I think that's really a better analogy, because people do get on and off in your life, and sometimes they're a reflection of how much you've grown, or how much you've changed, or how much you haven't changed, or how much they've changed. Or sometimes you meet people you haven't seen for a long time. It's like you never were apart. And then there's other times where you meet people you haven't seen for ages, and you think, like, fucking get me the fuck out of here. Taxi. And I had that experience. I had when I was like 20, I think I was 27 when I got into martial arts first. I met Brian McCarthy, and I started doing ninjutsu. And for me, he was like a huge mentor in my life. And he had his skill was owning a room, not teaching a class. A lot of people teach class. They go in, teach class. But there's owning a room. It's a very different quality that not many people have. Brian had it. Gov has it. Ido Portal has it. Everybody else tends to just teach. But anyway, he at a particular time in my life when I needed a little bit of guidance, and I needed it with the kind of the medium of violence, the medium of hardship, the medium of pressure, the medium of being pushed physically, and that pushed me mentally. He was a great mentor to me. And forget about like what martial arts styles and fights and all this kind of shit. Really, what it's about is finding things in yourself that I found was lacking in other martial arts. And probably because I met him first. But I hadn't seen him since I got here. And I was going back last year, and I decided, do you know what? I should meet him for a coffee. And I was talking to Joe Hoey, who still trains him. And I said to Joe, I was thinking of giving Brian a call and asking would he meet me for a coffee, just to thank him for all he's done. And Joe said, geez, that's a great idea. And then I thought, why don't I just go training? Because that's what we did in the first place. And then maybe have a coffee afterwards. So that's a great idea. But I'd forgotten where with Brian, you're either in or out. You can't just like drop in after not being around for the last 12 years or 13 years. I'd kind of got lost in the jiu-jitsu world of, you know, you send a message somewhere, you're anywhere on the planet, you found a jiu-jitsu place, you go in, tap hands and you're rolling. Ninjutsu wasn't like that. It was more like a start at the bottom, earn yourself a few stripes, up you go, maybe get to the inner circle. But there was all these circles that you had to get through. And I kind of made it to the inner circle, but then I made it back out again. So I asked Joe to tell Brian, was it okay if I called? Because that's the way it was done. So I couldn't just call him. So he said it was okay. And then I arranged to meet him for a coffee. And when I met him, I always had this thing in my head where I've never changed in life. It kind of, from my earliest memory, that my idea of myself, or my kind of the person on the inside looking out, has always been the same. It's never changed. And I suppose one is fear of change. And the only real thing in the universe is change, you know. And I always had this thing, it's like going back to a place where you go back and you're on holidays 10 years ago and you're back and you're expecting it to be exactly the same, and you're so disappointed that cafe's not there, that bar's not there, but shit just changes. But I met Brian, and Brian hadn't changed in 12, 13, 14 years, but I had. And because he was such a mentor to me, and because I looked up to him so much, that I saw how much I've changed. Not that I've outgrown him, but he taught me as much as he could teach me, whereas I had to go and find everywhere. And he did the same. He moved on from the guys that taught him first and found his own way. But I felt I'd realised how much I'd actually changed in the last 10 years. And that's probably the best lesson he's ever given me. The realisation of actually how much you do change, and how much people change. And like I say, you meet people that get on the bus on the route and you haven't seen them for a while. And some of them are exactly the same because they've probably grown with you, or they've probably sought out different ways to expand themselves, or got into different things, or were relevant with the way you were seeing the world as well. So I think that was the best lesson he ever taught me, was how much I've grown, or how much I've changed. I think grown is how much I've changed. Yeah. I had a good one the other day. It was the definition of hell is the person you are now bumping into the person that you could have been. I thought that was a good one. It is a good one, isn't it? So I think that is the shortest podcast, little waffle ever. Probably because I'm not drinking, and probably because I'm not wearing a hat. So the next one, I'm going to wear a hat, and I'm going to drink, and I'm going to waffle. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. That was it. It was me being a bus driver. To get on and off, but at the end of the day, I parked the bus on my own. Till the next one. Namaste. Hare Krishna. We are all one. Hare Krishna.